I want to respond to this comment. She says, what ticks me off is having any of my money going to support the local government school when we homeschooled. She goes on to say that they're aging now and they feel like property taxes are going up and their income is not. So let's talk school bonds and let's talk student enrollment in public schools, because I was even shocked by the numbers that I just looked up. There are so many kids doing something other than in-person public school, yet we are still paying school bonds, which can only be used for buildings, construction, renovation, not actually educating our kids or teacher salaries or anything like that, not curriculum, but strictly for construction. And we're paying this 6 mills. Every single property in the state of Michigan has to pay 6 mills toward the state ed tax, which goes into the school aid fund, which is the per pupil funding. So I'm going to show you a couple graphs and we're going to talk about how ridiculous it is, okay? Stay with me. So in 1993, they passed the School Aid Fund law. It's basically the State Ed Tax Act of 1993, and it kind of delegates how all this money comes into play, okay? So this is the $22 billion budget for the school aid fund, the per pupil funding for schools in Michigan, public schools in Michigan. And the property tax, remember I told you 6 mills for every property, that's 12.7%. It's a normal slice of the pie, right? The biggest piece of their revenue for the school aid fund comes from sales and use taxes. That's 40%, you might as well say. The next biggest is income tax, which is we're all taxed at 4.25% flat rate here in the state of Michigan. And then federal revenue is about 16%. So let's say we did away with property taxes. Do you think they could find somewhere else in their $84 billion budget for the state of Michigan to go to the school aid fund? I think so. I think they could. I really do. And next, let's look at public school enrollment numbers, because they've been saying that, oh, the birth rate is declining and that's why public school enrollment is declining. And so you see this big dip here in the from 2019-2020 to the 2020-21 school year. That was the COVID dip, okay? When they sent everybody home, a lot of people were like, we're not doing this. We're out, we're pulling our kids and we're doing something else. And then it went up just a hair for the next school year and then has continued a steady decline. And as you see, it was declining before that too. Like, this is nothing new. There's been a steady decline every single year for public school enrollment, and it's not for no reason, and it's not all due to the birth rate. And let me tell you why. At least 10% of Michigan school-age kids are doing private school. It's estimated that 5 to 6% of school-age children are homeschooled. So there's one more category of school-age kids that we're not normally talking about, but we should, and that is virtual students. So that means they're attending public school virtually through like a virtual academy from the public school. They're doing it at home on a computer. They're not actually attending the brick and mortar public school in your town. So we are still paying bonds, and we talked about what bonds pay for. Not curriculum, not teacher salaries, not anything to do with educating the child, but specifically construction, renovation, infrastructure. So we all have to pay the bonds. We all have to pay the school aid fund through our state ed tax. And 30% of us are choosing to do something else with our kids. That speaks volumes, doesn't it?